Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports here, myself Charlie. Reminder before the video starts, please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Now, NFL free agency opened this week and it has been a bonkers start to it. I think so many moves, some moves that were going to happen and they didn't happen. So many teams have gone big and gone big early in terms of trying to either improve their positions or maybe finally get themselves over the line in terms of championships or just make themselves more competitive. Certainly, I think that's the case in terms of the Raiders and the Titans. There's been some absolutely huge moves. I'm going to just try and talk about a few of them now because, like I say, there's just I think what it does for me is it says a lot maybe about what teams think of this year's draft class. I mean, me and my friends have discussed this before as well, like in our NFL sort of group chat when we talk, and we've said that this draft class isn't the most outstanding compared to some previous years. Yes, Mendoza is probably going to go number one, and by the looks of it, go to the Raiders. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Jeremiah Love is a player I really like, the running back. I'm interested to see where he ends up. I loved watching him for Notre Dame this year. But apart from that, I'm not sure that this is the strongest draft class, and I think that's why as well we're seeing a lot of quarterbacks on the move, because I think teams are looking and going, is it worth risking or with some of these teams when we can get what we want to get? And obviously the early breaking news was in the quarterbacks with the Miami Dolphins, that is, trying to taking on so much dead space in their cap I'm not going to try Tagovailoa going to, he's now ended up at the Atlanta Falcons, which is, I actually think, a very good move for Tua and for the Falcons. He's gone at basically base level because he's still getting that massive salary from the Dolphins. And also, he's a left-armed quarterback, which suits that offense because, of course, Michael Penix is also a left-armed quarterback, and he is still in rehab at the moment. I think Tua will definitely get games for the Falcons, which is huge. I also think as well, he brings different strengths to the strengths that Penix has. You know, Penix is a guy who likes to throw to the perimeter. Tua likes to go over the middle. Maybe, just maybe, there could be some sort of happy medium for Tua and Penix where you get the best of both maybe later on in the season if Penix comes back from rehab. But I do think it's a good move. And also, like I say, they're taking on a quarterback, but they're not taking on a huge amount of salary cap. Their salary cap's not taking a massive hit because of course, the Dolphins covering him. But then again, despite that with the Dolphins and the raised eyebrows, I do think they've had a very good move, bringing in Malik Willis. He's a quarterback, again, who I think will light up that offense. I think he's a very well-suited player. And also, there's a lot of talk about the attitude he's going to bring. Now, the Dolphins last year were one of the most, I think, toxic franchises I can remember in a long time. Mike McDaniels was apparently leaking stories to the local media, saying it's not me, it's him, it's in Tua. There was so much going on behind the scenes. Hopefully, I think with a guy like Malik Willis, who everyone in the league or no one in the league has a bad word to say about, they can potentially bring themselves back up to not playoffs, but a competitive level. Hopping over in Florida to Jacksonville, and I think, took a huge loss. Jacksonville were a team last year, if anyone who follows the channel knows, they were a team last year who I really liked and enjoyed watching. Travis Etienne, I think, is a huge loss to them going to the New Orleans Saints. He's a fantastic running back. He was one of their standouts from last year. The Jags have no doubt got a lot of work to do, considering where they got to in the playoffs last year. Of course, they were unlucky, I thought, against the Bills. To then take this bigger hit, they have got to look at recruiting well, because if not, they could find themselves having a really good season and then again just going down, descending. One team that has raised a lot, they're in the news all the time, is the Las Vegas Raiders. Max Crosby, Willie was going to the Ravens and now he's not, but they've still spent big. And I think one of the ones that really raised eyebrows was Tyler Linderbaum, who they made the highest paid centre in the league by 50%. He's being paid $27 million. The next highest, I think, was $18 million. So it's some move from them. I think what it says to me is that Mendoza's a cert for them. They're not going to do anything silly with their first round draft pick. And what they've done there is brought in an experienced centre who's going to help a rookie quarterback who's prone to making a few crazy decisions, if anyone's watched the college football from last year. I think they've brought him in with the view to helping him in those first few years. They've brought in experience, the Raiders, and although people have scoffed and gone, they're throwing around money like it's going out of fashion, I do think that what they've done is, and I think they'll talk about this on a few podcasts too, they've raised the floor in terms of there's guys who are coming in now and who are going to say, no, this isn't acceptable. Now, if this is Brady's idea, then it wouldn't surprise me, because the fact of the matter is he's been there and done it in a lot of the league. And if they are saying to people, look, we're pushing, look, we're not going to win the Super Bowl next year, but what we are going to do is we're going to be competitive, and we're not going to just amble into obscurity. And I think that's fair enough from them. Although people laughed, I think it was the only rightful thing to do in terms of just trying to sort out what was last year a franchise that hit the self-destruct button. And one man who definitely hit the self-destruct button was Geno Smith, who's found himself back at the New York Jets. Again, I don't think it's a bad move. I think most of the teams, to be honest, I look at it, Mike Evans to the 49ers, that's another move that I think makes a lot of sense. The Titans have been going early. Again, I think that makes a huge amount of sense. One team that I think has really added to their roster is the Carolina Panthers. Now, they were oh so close last year to stunning the Rams, if you remember, in the playoffs. And they've now found themselves in a position where they've got elite players, in my opinion, at every level or every part of defence. They've added and added and added, which I think is a great move. Build on what you've already got. They were solid last year. They were solid in the game against the Rams. They were so unpredictable last year. The division isn't the strongest. I know that, and with the Bucks losing Evans, that makes it slightly weaker. I think the Panthers are going to be a team to watch next year, to be honest with you, with what they've done in free agency. There's still no doubt going to be more moves. I mean, one I've completely forgot about, is Kenneth Walker. The Chiefs showing that this kingdom that we thought was being destroyed is certainly not. Kelsey as well is apparently going to be staying on. That's an interesting move from them. But Kenneth Walker, who, listen, I personally more of a Charbonnet guy, I'm not going to lie, but he was so pivotal in that Seahawks Super Bowl win last year, that run to the Super Bowl. And for them to get him, a guy who is an elite running back, let's be realistic, that's a fantastic move. People won't like it. I think even myself as an NFL fan, not a fan of it, but when they've got cap space, they're going to use it well. And yeah, they're getting a guy in Walker who knows what success. He's just going to slot right in there, you can imagine, into that at the Arrowhead and just do the business for them. You can imagine, do what he needs to do. Him and Mahomes will no doubt strike up some special relationship with some unbelievable plays, with Andy Reid as well involved and Kelsey sticking around. Yeah, that's a huge move. It's something that will just suit both parties, and looks like the Chiefs are going to be back to winning ways. There's so much going on that it's incredible. And like I say, what it reflects for me is what they think of this draft class. I think a lot of people are looking at it and going, no, thank you. I'm not a fan of this. There's some interesting moves, I say. I think the Dolphins have done well. I think the 49ers. I do worry for the Jags and I do worry for the Eagles, but who knows? I may be proven wrong. They may recruit well. I think the Raiders as well have gone about things the right way. We'll have to see though on that first game. There's still a lot of developments to come, no doubt. Alex Pierce, by the way, I nearly forgot him, but that's a great for him staying at the Colts. We were all eyes were on him. He's managed to secure himself a huge contract. Again, that's exactly what you want from him and for the Colts. They can build. We saw him and Uncle Phil last year build up quite a relationship towards the end of the season. Pierce for not their best wide receiver, and I think the Colts will be very, very happy that they've kept hold of him. As always, guys, let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.